you can see, will be on the top side of the map.
I think overall, I prefer the King Zone lane assignments here. It's pretty easy for Sion to just shrug off and wave clear next to Lissandra, and Urgot's kill pressure on Akali pretty much nil when it comes to the Shroud here, which gets a lot of value.
In the mid lane.
In early trades from level 2, the Shroud is so useful because you basically can't use the Machine Gun W because the Shroud will just dissipate all those pseudo-auto attacks, and hitting the ult is so useful and actually pinning down on Akali. Best of luck for Summit. Regardless, those are the lane assignments we're going to get, at least for the early game here. Level 2 is hit, and you know what? You do have to vacate most Draven lanes because they get level 2, and then your ability to hit the lane is pretty minimal. Level 2 is hit, and you know what?
A lot of respect being given. I actually did a little bit of research just then to see how much Deft has actually played Lucian. He just doesn't feel necessarily like a Lucian player. The man has a 72% win rate on the champion, but is certainly not up there as far as his most played champion player. The man has Corky and Cosmo, which says that in metas gone by, certainly not up there as far as he's certainly put in more time elsewhere. As Rascal is really having his way with some of the mid lane. The top lane is facing off in a different lane, but still in the same matchup.
These matchups can actually be abated on the first back. The first back going to be delayed. Joker throws out the hook, so much less threat from him, but don't need much assistance if you're Ghost on this Draven. Note that he's gone. Again, we talked about the press. Joker throws out the attack, is much less threat from him, but don't need much assistance to kill tanks later, so it's all about game.
Yep, here comes on Fleek. He's already flashed on top of Deft. It's a good flash to get out of the way of the play, but not enough for the death sentence. First blood is going to go down. The flash is everything, but that was an auto attack from the turret that was always going to get through. Pawn's got double buffs and a double kill as Joker is still on the wrong side of the map. Tucson will have the Bellows Breath, but he doesn't need it. He's got the knock-up. Pawn trying to get in here, but I believe Joker is still dead. And that is so much for King Zone after that very aggressive dive from Sandbox.
Just too hasty from the side of Sandbox Gaming. They're trying to play towards the choice of the press the attack. It told us that they wanted to play aggressive, but remember, turrets do more damage early in the game. It's so much harder to reset aggro and decrease damage on those turret shots. They all get low in the desperation to get a kill onto Ghost. He may pick up the Vamp Scepter, but it's not enough to justify 3 kills to the side of King Zone.
Yeah, checking this one out once again. The one good news story is that Ghost was the one that picked up the kill onto Deft. So what little adoration stacks he managed to pick up by level 3 was able to get a little bit, but it wasn't that much gold, as you saw just there.
And it was a pretty big mistake also from OnFleek. He did not notice that there was a turret shot mid-flight, so when he flashed over the wall to get away from the teleporting Scion, he was already dead, straight up to the turret shot that was going to hit him. He was at 200 health. That turret shot was going to do about 300 damage, so in the end, he wastes his summoner on that dive. There's actually a lot of agency to Cuz, who picked up experience in the top side. So while Pawn loses out on a couple of minions, Cuz is going to have a fast level 6 and a lot of people to return to whose summoners are down.
And Pawn's absolutely fine at this point anyway.
He's got double buffs, baby.
Double buffs, and he's only 9 CS behind after all that. So 2-0-1. Sion is in pretty good position. King Zone have switched things back, just making sure that they can pick up as much lane farm as they can. So Rascal moved around, able to catch himself back up to where Summit had already made it to.
Doing the swapsies now, as Dove would really like to face the Akali one time. I was wondering how the back timings would interact with item purchases, because if you see magic resist, you can swap your soul laners on the side of Sandbox, and the merry-go-round continues.
Yep. Pawn's just going to clear out the minion wave, and thankfully he's a Scion, so he can do that. Has a lot of freedom to get himself around. His Joker is hunting Cuz, who does half of the damage to this Rift Scuttler, but he is going to just leash it for OnFleek.
Here's what I'll say about Joker. You know he's a good shot caller. He is, of course, the oldest player in the LCK, older than old man score. I know, it's a weird thing to think about. His skill shot accuracy on the death sentence is pretty poor, all things considered, but he's really feisty. He's happy to roam out of lane. He looks for plays. He's trying to be a leader. And while you're not hitting every death sentence, I do like the endeavor he shows, because I think it catches a lot of the more traditional LCK mainstays a bit off guard, because he's always trying something rather than holding on to cooldowns and trying to zone.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like he's trying something without having an idea of what it necessarily is. So he's trying something and putting his brain into it as well. So I've really enjoyed watching Joker play. And like you say, the mechanics may not necessarily be up there, but as old men ourselves, you need to find your niche in League of Legends if you don't quite have the button presses there with the 17-years-olds.
Not as many exciting button presses in the Urgot. on the mid lane here. Saw some very interesting Urgot ultimates. In fact, I feel like this week we've seen very few Fear from Beyond Death's arm. Whether they're being interrupted by QSSs or Tom Kench or the person dying. So many different shenanigans have happened that AoE fears have been much more at a premium than you might have expected with this many Urgot games. Basically every game appears to be an Urgot game. Deft has been able to stabilize and, you know, staying within 10 CS and farming up a cull. He probably feels like he's basically winning against Draven, who often, especially with press the attack instead of Conqueror, is expected to win lane super hard.
Well, that was a trade that was just massively won by Kingzone. Tucson going in maybe a little bit over-aggressively, but still able to win out on that trade. Gets the Brittle proc, and Ghost down very, very low. Not a lot of mana there as well, so these Whirling Axes aren't going to be coming out as easily as you might like, because waiting here in the mid lane, but Summit has this full minion wave pushing in towards him, so he will be absolutely fine. No overextension there for the Urgot.
This is with a Summoner advantage and a Vamp Scepter advantage for Ghost. Already trading down, and now the friends are coming to make his life worse.
Yep, Summit does understand that something like this will be happening, but the Drifter will be making his way down as well. Ghost has the shield, but the Dark Passage is now on cooldown. Pawn armed that very, very early just to get down here. Kingzone not biting off more than they can chew. Will back away for the moment, but Sandbox feeling the pressure that this squad is putting on.
I think it was too easy for Sandbox to disengage the moment they heard the Pawn ultimate, because remember, he's the top laner right now.
Yeah.
They already saw everyone else rotate. They're like, wait, it's 5 people. Instantly disengage further under turret. So the global sound actually gave them that extra 2 seconds to think about their options, understand their situation. And Lissandra's top side, so it's actually just a cost to the side of Kingzone for no benefit.
Yep, it isn't great. But the thing that's weird is that Kingzone are able to put on so much pressure, and what did we say in the earlier stages of the game? It's that Sandbox have a lot of these earlier tools that want to get online as this game goes on. Feels like that dive has really punished Sandbox in a lot more ways than just the kills, because the gold is extraordinarily even. If you're a Sandbox fan, though, you probably want it to be a little bit more in their favor.
Again, because there's no Conqueror, can Draven puncture through a Scion in the mid-game, let alone the late game? And Tucson won't be super tanky, but has a lot of different ways to interact and interrupt Draven's positioning. Just that Ornn ultimate. The fact that it's a 10% slow now at max rank isn't going to dissuade Draven from flashing, from really trying to open up space. So there's a real potential that Ghost, if he never gets going, if he never gets a big cash in, if you can't cheat the item curve as Draven, you feel a lot more honest than the Dravens that pick up that 400 gold cash in and a half an item ahead at all moments.
Exactly right. And if you're ever moving backwards as well, Draven feels like a terrible champion. Moving forward, he feels like the best champion in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, just feels like a little bit of a waste of space. And the same thing can be said for Kha'Zix if he's too far behind. On Fleek, of course, has had a lot of experience in solo queue with not being behind, because his solo queue account is certainly way up there, and especially on the Kha'Zix as well. We know that he can pilot this champion, but will they be able to get their opportunities to utilize what their strengths are before Kingzone get online?
One of the strengths of Kingzone because of this early game is how strong Cuz is on the bottom side. Ward not fully cleared there, but Lee Sin not revealed, of course. Been controlled the entire time, and Tucson didn't auto it when it was in vision range of Lee Sin. Clearing out this second ward here, but Cuz knows that the lane spacing doesn't really suit a Lee Sin engage. Again, he got a lot of farm top. His experience bar is in a really good spot, given this Kha'Zix matchup, but it's well read by OnFleek. He's ahead of the play here and knows he's pretty sure Lee Sin's bot side, so how about a free Rift Herald?
Yeah, Dove going down a little bit lower here in this lane than he might have wanted against Pawn, who managed to get to 2-0-1, of course, 100% kill contribution after that dive. And now looking for a little bit more. Ultimate has to be used defensively here from Dove, who actually lands all of his buttons, and Pawn with only a null magic mantle worth of magic resist.
The reason why he uses more is the Rift Herald's already so close to dying, and he says, I can't be the reason that we lose pressure topside. So I'll just use my ult, not have to worry about it too much. The fact that Pawn is getting this much respect from Dove with Glacial Shroud and not just mainlining into an adaptive helm is a really good sign, given that the evolving lane assignment will change again and again based on who has teleport as the game goes on. Bottom side, TP to lane, but it's just Tucson coming to help out his boy Deft.
Yeah, with his spellbook, he's going to have that exhaust back off very, very soon, which is going to be a little bit more important considering the Draven in the lane that he's going up against. Cuz going to take down this Rift Scuttler. Tucson just helping him out. Down the mid lane, Rascal. Is the Shroud down? OnFleek's going to turn up, but isn't going to be able to find too much here as Tucson throws out the Ornhorn. but isn't going to make it back, as Joker has found himself in the middle of King Zone. Deft, able to get the burst damage. And that is just Joker in the wrong position and his team not quite able to back him up.
Watching a lot of things happen at the moment. There was Lysandra engaged, but it's actually drawing a flash away. But a lot of things happening here. I have to see the replay to understand why Joker thought he could walk through 3 control wards as Tusen's trying to interrupt Ghost.
Does find himself the knock-up here as Ghost trying to juggle these axes as best he can. Does use the flash, but there's the mini-stun against the wall. Lots of damage comes in, means that kill will be traded. A lot of those adoration stacks will be stacked in despite the fact that he did fall down. So Ghost with a lot of money. Sandbox now move it towards the mid lane, and they've got that Rift Herald. This means a lot of extra gold, as Shelly will put her face into this structure pretty handily.
A lot of messy, different things happening here as the Observer lag looked very amusing on Shelly going into the mid lane turret. The play was not ideal from either side. Felt like two of our bottom teams struggling to make a play. Don't know why Joker thought he could walk through the river there. The turret dive from Cuz, you understand why he went for it, but the follow flash from Ghost meant that the kick wasn't going to be a clean kill. Ends up being traded. And Infernal could be a further reward as we're fighting over this one, Atlas.
Yep, Rascal's going to jump his way forward. Does have the ultimate there.
Akali got it!
Oh my god! Managed to pick it up, I think, with the ult. Steps out of the shroud, but that is going to mean that he dies. That's a great performance already, though. You'll probably take the death, as Pawn will have to do the same. Zombie Scion's not going to be picking anyone up as he's got slowed down. And King Zone, they do walk away with the Dragon, but Sandbox pick up a couple of kills in response.
I think Akali was just putting threat onto the Kha'Zix because the Drake was falling so low and ended up picking up the objective. That's a big one. It's an Infernal. The second spawn over here, so Rascal does not die in vain. Ghost will push through the mid lane, and the bot lane push happens here. So they get some priority from it, Sandbox. They still have a pretty good scenario with how it begun, with Joker just being caught rotating between bot and mid. And overall, no gold lead. The Infernal, the only meaningful one. Let's understand these plays, they happen. This is towards the tail end here. We saw Tusen fighting against Ghost. Nice buffering of the E to get the knock up here. Cuz flashes over, but because Ghost has flash and heal, it's not a kick away from safety of the turret. Ends up being a death. The cash-in not going to be massive because, of course, you lose so many of those adoration stacks.
Yeah.
Here is the replay. And it's a Q, actually, on after the R. It gets the kill. Rascal dying for it, but I'll call that one hashtag worth.
Hashtag worth, yes. And Pawn finds himself in an off position, but that's mostly because they decided to challenge for the Dragon. Here he comes again, though. The choo-choo train not going to get any stuns, but he at least gets in amongst it. Will he be dying here, though, is the question, as Rascal finds that he cannot get in there. And Pawn will just sacrifice himself. Zombie Scion will pick up some farm. That was a little bit silly from the mid laner of King Zone.
Messy game, Atlas. This is the day where you don't have enough time to do your hair and you have to deal with it. And it feels like both sides are there. You don't know that feel. You're looking fantastic as always, Atlas.
Thank you very much, Puppy. You yourself as well, certainly. In amongst that crowd of fantastic hair.
You chop it short enough in the right way, it's pretty easy to maneuver, is what I've learned. Gonna watch the replay of this one. The drift looked in spot because he has to hit one, but of course, Sandbox juked the right way. They juked towards Rascal as 3 men. For once, a fear beyond death arms, and Cuz, in spite of Summit being low on the health bar, knows it's best not to follow there. Here are the Sandbox coaches, just some polite applause. Both teams have plenty of VOD review to do about the first 15 minutes.
Yes. And if we do some table setting here, if we bring it all back, it does mean that King Zone will only be behind about 1.4 thousand gold. Nothing to write home about. They've got the Infernal Drake. So feeling like they have more of those scaling options, and we need to go back to the draft as well. There's a Kha'Zix, there is a Draven. This is a game where the mid-game is where Sandbox really want to start excelling. Now they finally do have some gold, they do have some options. We'll see what they can do to press it forward.
Feels like the backline threat from King Zone outclasses the backline threat from Sandbox. They both have some backline threat, Lysandra, for example, but more reliable for Akali, Ornn, and Scion to shut down Draven, who, remember, in a team fight, you know if Draven's winning if he's able to pick up every axe. If he can min-max his positioning based on axes for damage rather than dodging enemies, then he's in a happy place. But the Orange support, even alone, does a pretty good job of zoning him. Because of that, it feels like late game. Lucian Draven is kind of a wash when it comes to late game scaling. They're about the same, kind of in the middle tier. Because of the backline threat, you do give a slight lead to the side of King Zone, but slight leads aren't necessarily going to be trump cards, and thus, with the game so even, does feel like the next mid-game play, the first blow-open play, might herald the winner of game number 1.
And I feel like who's going to have the execution on point here as well. And I mean, I know it's a bit of a pun with Kali's ultimate, but it is going to have to be pretty good and a bit of an improvement from what we've seen so far, because there are so many go buttons, especially on the side of Kingzone. If they can land these buttons, they can make sure that Sandbox don't have a way of answering. But we've seen the train not quite hit the station. We've seen kicks lead to deaths, and we've seen Rascal sort of getting himself executed.
No Shroud, they know, but Minion Wave is so far away that Rascal will be able to disengage pretty easily here. W second evolve, I believe, by OnFleek. Just spotting around, and Kali and other threats lie in wait. I have no problem with this. Again, we're closer to the God tier situation of what do I need from Kha'Zix rather than what's overpowered when it comes to evolving, which I'm sure was the original intent on the champion. Mid lane.
Yeah, Joker taking a heck of a lot of damage. Oh, can Tucson actually line this one up? Nails it onto Joker, and the dash is going to be there to get Deft the kill. Picks that one up so easily as, we've got beams of light coming in from everywhere. Sandbox a little bit more group, but the knock-up comes down from Tucson, and that's not going to do it. Cuz in a bit of trouble, but has the heal from Deft, and now Rascal dashing around the fight, picks up the first kill. Summit could be in trouble. The perfect execution is there. He is going to lose his life, but it's only OnFleek that survives the Kingzone slaughter.
What a roller coaster of a team fight. It felt like Sandbox were getting in position, but Ghost saw that, had the confidence, walked up and deleted by Rascal, finds the perfect execution, like you say, on the man they need to take down, and from there, the cleanup is true from Kingzone Dragon X.
Absolutely stunning stuff, and finally, those buttons are going to land. Pawn lines it up, gets on top of everyone, and Tucson starting that fight beautifully with the call of the Forge God. Joker, once again, a little bit out of position here, has been a bit of the problem case for Sandbox so far.
He's been relentlessly face-checking bot side river when that's where the enemy has priority. Now, as Draven, you want priority, you don't have it, and then we get these beams of light, 4 teleports instantly. But the rest of Sandbox aren't playing towards their teleports, they're playing towards safety. But at this moment with the self-ult, you think, okay, move up, says Ghost. Instantly, Rascal uses all of his abilities aggressively. Draven down, health bars down, and clean up from Kingzone Dragon X.
Yeah, and holding on to the